What's up, everybody? Xavrun here, and today we're jumping back into the Gods of SAVVARAH. Last time we made the choices that I guess I personally would have made, and it ended up getting us unalived in the arena. So today we'll go ahead and make the opposite choices. I do want to kind of do a mixture of the two, but I have a feeling that if I make the opposite choices, it's going to change the story. So we're going to go ahead and just play it out as we can. We'll make as many videos on this as possible. But yeah, so let's go ahead and jump in. Many sentient creatures contemplate their creation. Who are we? Who brought us into existence? What for? For us, the SAVVARAHs, these questions were never of philosophical nature. We know who created us, we know how, and we used to know for what purpose. Clouds have always bypassed SAVVARAH. They crowd around but never dared to cross some kind of invisible border. There, amidst evergreen forests, basking in the eternal light of the sun, sat Inkatal, the city hidden from the eyes of a stranger. The city that was our prison. City of the Sun. It's always better to move on four paws. Phosphor didn't mind crawling. At least he kept his head, which was of use after all. With his heart beating soundly, Phosphor was making his way through the sleeping brothers. Heavy silence, interrupted only by snoring and puffing, strengthened every little rustle. He restrained himself from rushing forward. Freedom was so close. She was so close. Something touched his ankle. Phosphor halted. He almost fell to the ground, but did not want to make a noise. All's fine. Just one of his brothers tosses and turns. He gathered his strength and continued moving. How many times has he sneaked out of here? And every time he thought over a plan in case he got caught. Finally, fresh air. Phosphor crawled in the dark, still too soon to relax. Who knows what can happen if he gets caught? Though he could always talk his way out, referring to one of his master's errands. Nobody dares goes against Lyoka's will, no matter how absurd it may be. Blood rushed to his head, yet it was not fear, excitement. Once again, he wants to prove to himself that he can wander around Inkatal at his own whim. Is there any other SAVVARAHs who could do this? The Katak domain was enclosed by a wall of thickets. What useless beauty. Phosphor navigated this motley maze better than Katak servants themselves. He knew every flower here and would notice any change in their order. What were they called? Whatever. Oh, these bushes of all shapes and sizes have saved his life more than once. Even now, the lizard was watching the estate, sitting in the shade of a spreading tree. A familiar silhouette, gait, profile. A shiver ran down his back. It was her, Kahira. Though apparently he arrived too late. Following the other servants, the girl was returning to her modest home. So last time we snapped a twig, so this time we're going to go ahead and just call for her. Kahira! Kahira jerked as if she had seen a ghost. Her face changed abruptly, and she gestured to Phosphor. Go away. Kahira, are you coming? Yes, I think I left some tools. I'll catch up with you soon. Okay, so we're getting the same dialogue here. Phosphor came even closer. She shushed him. What are you doing here? I told you not to come. Aren't you happy to see me? We've already agreed that this can't go on. I don't remember agreeing to anything. Phos. I just wanted to see you. Oh, please, don't make such a face. It's dangerous. They might see us. Are you afraid they'll be jealous? Of course I am. And you should be too. It's all your fault. One look at you, and it's kind of, hard to be afraid, you know? You know you could always win me over. But it's serious now, Haas. So are my intentions. Look what I've got here. He handed her a stone. It looked quite ordinary. A circle with spikes was scratched on it. The sun? What is it? Once I saw the masters give each other, well, different things. That's what I made for you. Keepsake. She stared at it clumsily, at this clumsily drawn sun for some time. This is the only kind of sun that can shine for us. And yet we must stop. Should we get caught? We won't. There's no future for us. Unless our saint masters would decide to arrange a marriage between two loving souls. Let me ask them. Enough. That's a bad joke. Hosfa, you know that. You know, I have always anticipated our meetings. That this is going to be our deaths. Which, she's kind of right? I mean, it happened on the last one anyways. Let's see what happens here. So, I'm not going to promise to return. I did that last time, so we're going to go ahead and just leave. Perhaps you are right. But you will remember me, won't you? You know I will. Hosfa was sneaking back, following the same path. He didn't feel too disappointed, though. What will stop him from coming back in a couple of days? The next night, Hosfa escaped from the hut again. She wasn't there. He waited longer than usual and almost let his guard down. Hosfa couldn't sleep. He fell asleep with bad thoughts. Now, it was making sense. Her harsh tone, sudden request to part. She must have found another male among her own people. That would be much easier. I mean, it would be easier to think that, I suppose. And this concern is always a real thing. Jealousy doesn't help anybody, though. Hosfa dropped into a vicious, heavy sleep. It was dark and damp. The vicious chill always seemed especially pleasant after the brutal sunlight. Hosfa woke up in a dugout that he and his sworn brothers called home. He woke up by himself, like most of the others. They were trained to get up early. I think last time wasn't it the old man that decided that woke him up yelling at him? Oh, he didn't get up. He buried his face in the wet wall when something poked him in the thigh. Yep, it's the old man. He turned around. Above him stood the eldest, Ushad. He was an old lizard from the Ahara tribe. He lived here long before Hosfa was born and was the sworn father and tutor for most of the Nair house servants. Sleeping well, darling? Should I tuck you in? Hosfa jumped up briskly, hiding his surprise. He could not remember any morning errands. What's up? You dare ask me what's up? You should be working already. Look at yourself. All brawn and still no brain. It cracks me up. But what are you mumbling about? The sun is up, and so you must be up as well. Remember? Do I have to teach you a lesson once more? Oh, no. Okay. Or do you want to go straight to the pit? That's not good. That was our demise on the last run through. Hosfa was looking down at the floor, listening to Ushad. Ushad grumbled often, and it seemed to be a matter of habit. But then Hosfa remembered Ushad when he was younger. This red-haired lizard once bit off a piece of a guilty one. He is from the Ahara tribe after all, and they are not to be trifled with. Even robust young men like Hosfa don't scare them. What's taking so long? Get out. To disobey Ushad is to disobey the master, a deadly sin. They came out to the surface. Hosfa winced at the bright sun, and they really did a good job making it look bright, didn't they? Gahan, Kuar, and Shashkin were already standing outside. They were lizards of the tribe. And why are you standing here? Go fetch the palanquin. What's with staring at Haas? We'll manage without him. Okay, I've read that wrong and I apologize. The palanquin? At this hour? The master must be going somewhere. This doesn't happen so early in the morning. Okay. And you will be watching the babies until we get back. Me? I'm no female. You'll be whatever I tell you to be. Why so grumpy? Didn't you enjoy your rest? Not really. I was worried about my girlfriend last night. Well, then shut up and get to work. So most of the story seems to be exactly the same. And I know it's still really early. There's going to be a lot more content added to this. But let's just see how it goes from here. Children mean problems. Should one wake the master? Everyone will have problems, and especially Hosfa himself. The children, too. The comment doesn't need to be there. They can be easily tossed into the pit, just as well. Yep, absolutely. The garden was bustling with running children. Hosfa clapped his hands. Hosfa, what are you doing here? I really do like the way they do that. I still think that's a great way to introduce the characters without going too far, right? So everything goes black and white. He's blue, his name is in blue. He's red, his name will be in red. He's like a lime green, his name will be in lime green. You're too wet behind the ears to ask questions. We thought that Ushad was coming. Ushad? What's he supposed to do here? He said he would tell a story. Ah, yes, a story. Hosfa chuckled. Nothing changes here. He even remembered sitting just here and listening to the Ushad's story, the one he always told the little ones. I know the story too. What's it about? Oh, it's essential. This is a story about our people. Everyone must know it. Hosfa closed his eyes, thinking where he should begin. Sorry, I got something in my mouth. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. The lizards of the Ahara tribe were considered bloodthirsty and narrow-minded, but Ushad was a good storyteller. Have you seen the sun? The sun always shone over SAVVARAH, but there were times when its rays could not reach the earth. The whole land was in the grip of impenetrable darkness. There was nothing but blackness through which the sun rays could not break through. The sun sent his son, Akatal, here. Akatal came down to our land and dispersed the darkness. SAVVARAH has become the only haven of life on earth. Is there still darkness outside of SAVVARAH? No, only fragments of darkness remained. The clouds that surrounded SAVVARAH still strive to absorb the sun. After Akatal, the Laoka came to this land. His younger brothers. You promised to tell us the story of our people. Ouch! Why? Don't interrupt, elders. But as the smell of blood attracts a predator, so does the triumph of... What's that been? Flesh? Flesh? What are you talking about? Triumph of flesh. Predators are attracted to by blood and flesh. No, nothing like that. Now shut up. Now I remember. Just as the smell of blood attracts a predator, so the triumph of life attracts death and destruction. My line was better. Hordes of heralds of destruction appeared at the borders of our native SAVVARAH. They were called the Dominion of the Horned Ones. I mean, this art is so beautiful. I still can't get over how beautiful this is. The Dominion strove to invade SAVVARAH and raze everything here to the ground. They threw stones and fire at the forests when the earth itself rebelled against the Horned Ones at the command of the Akatal, or of Akatal. But why would the Horned Ones do all of this? The same reason the sun warms and the trees cast shadows. Such is their essence. And will there be any talk of the SAVVARIANs at all? Of course. The Akatal created us, the 7 SAVVARIAN tribes. We became the army of the sun, fighters that stood up to protect not just SAVVARAH, but life itself. And which tribe is the strongest? Everyone knows it's But we can do magic. You're lying. You've never done any magic yet. Every tribe has its own strengths and weaknesses. But it was the tribe that led the SAVVARIANs into battle. We fought the Horned Ones outside SAVVARAH in a barren wasteland. We saved SAVVARAH. And only then we returned home. But it wasn't the end of our path. After SAVVARAH's rescue, we were awarded the highest honor to serve the Lyoka and Akatal people, and Akatal. I don't know. I can't call that an honor, but I guess, when that's what you're brought up in the stories you're told through political propaganda, you're going to believe it, right? Anyways, Hosfa nearly jumped to his feet. The old lizard of the Ahara tribe was heading towards him. Ushad looked displeased, as if Hosfa did something wrong. Off to your brothers. The Nair house itself, bathing in bright rays, seemed to shine against the background of the clear sky and lush gardens. A huge snow-white building, the Nair estate, was a miracle of architecture compared to the miserable dugouts of the SAVVARIANs. But such were all the houses of the masters. They were not built by slaves, which is good, and, of course, not by the Lyoka themselves. They were created by magic. Hosfa and his brothers carried the palanquin to the steps. It looked like another butchery. Oh, this early? The butchery was both entertainment for the masters and punishment for the slaves. It was held in a place called the arena, but the SAVVARIANs named it the pit. The servants were released into the arena. Sometimes they fought with monsters, sometimes with other servants. Sometimes, if a servant did something very wrong, the arena became a place for an elaborate execution. Quiet, he's coming. Snow white robe of the master was blending in with the palace in the background. A seer, one of the elders in the house Nair. Although he looked young, the Lyoka were not immortal, but they aged very slowly. Many generations of SAVVARIANs can change before their master's curly hairs or curls turn gray. As they lifted the bulky palanquin at the same time, at Ushad's command, together they moved in sync smoothly and confidently. Ushad trained them for a long time. The master's comfort is priority. The masters could walk in the air, but for some reason they did not give up such primitive means of movement. Hosfa could only guess what these green-skinned creatures were thinking. After the master's estate, the arena could only surprise with its size. Numerous spectators' seats stretched in front of the plain-looking arena. There were SAVVARIANs everywhere. The lizards were jailers, warders, cleaners. Hosfa and his brothers were standing near Asir. Only the masters were allowed to sit. Now another Lyoka of the Katak house sat down next to Asir. Hosfa was studying his servants. Mine will be there today, Akir Katak. No way. What has she done? She escaped from my domain at night. The eldest said she was was seeing some outsider. I decided to forgive her, but as a warning, I ordered Crocus to mate with her. And she stabbed him last night. Stabbed? Well, smashed his throat with some sort of stone. and you decided to send her to the arena? Quite noble. You guys are real pieces of work. You know that? I like this random anime-looking girl in the background. I don't like violence. Hoshva was stunned. His heart was pounding wildly. Hawk did not give a name, but Hoshva already understood everything. He was sick of how carelessly the Laoka talked about mating, and that wasn't the only thing that infuriated Hoshva. Here learned about the night escapes from a servant. Hoshva was sure that Crocus regarded the female as a delicious bone thrown by his master. Fights in the arena were different. If a crime was not serious, a lizard fought another lizard. The winner survived, and it depended entirely on the master's will whether the servants returned or stayed in the catacombs of the pit. Fights with monsters were much worse. Only the most lucky survived. Such fights were intended for the exceptionally guilty, or for those who had been living in the basements of the arena for too long. The execution was something very rare. Hoshva has never witnessed it. In such a case, a servant was opposed by the magic of the master or Akatal himself. This kind of death was slow and painful. The last fight was announced. Hoshva felt his heart stop beating. What he saw seemed to be a bad dream. Or seemed to be a dream. A bad dream. Sorry about that. She was released into the arena. There she is. Kahira. There were no other lizards in the arena. She had no chance of survival. A passage appeared in the wall of the arena. There was a deafening roar which seemed to make the walls tremble. Some masters startled, but then laughed. A huge monster entered the arena. Thick fur which was simply unthinkable for these places. It looked excessively big standing near Kahira. The massive body, powerful limbs, gigantic muzzle with sharp-toothed jaws. The monster rushed at Kahira. Hoshva watched with a shudder as she darted around the arena, barely managing to dodge the rapid leaps of the colossal creature. She won't last long. Hoshva knew it. At that moment, it seemed to Hoshva that the time had slowed down and the sound had subdued, as if the whole world had become mute. He looked around. The masters were having fun, talking casually. And his brothers? His sworn brothers looked around with indifferent, dead eyes. Some Savvarians looked at the arena with a grin. Hoshva was no longer listening to what the Laoka were saying. Their speech seemed distant. Only a jumble of sound could be heard. When suddenly, a Katak's remark leaped out at him. By the way, I found this trinket at her place. What's it? Ah, stone? Mine play with them too. Take a closer look. What is that? Some kind of scribble? The sun? Or what? Well, it looks like that. And the eldest claims that he knows who gave her this. Huh. I didn't know that lizards can draw. A shiver ran down Hoshva's spine. The Laoka can't read minds. Can they? How curious. Should we arrange a competition? An artist competition? Huh. Hoshva's gaze darted across the arena. Will he end up there himself, or will he be executed right in the house? He turned around and locked eyes with Ushad. Who knows what was in the old man's gaze? Sadness, pity, regret. Then it suddenly occurred to Hoshva. The old man knows everything. For the masters, they were just rubbish. It was even worse that the Savvarians themselves grew to consider themselves rubbish. Hoshva has lost many. His parents, brothers, sister, friends. And they died in such a way that no one even remembered them now. They'll definitely kill him if he comes back. indefinitely. Now, he has no choice. He can humbly return home or die with Kihira. It's his fault, after all. I'm not going to do anything. Last time I jumped into the arena, we ended up moving on to the other side, I suppose, is a way to put it. And I'm doing the opposite. So instead of jumping into the arena, we're going to do nothing. We'll see what happens here. Hosfa took a deep breath and closed his eyes. His heart has calmed down. The sense of time has returned to him. It made no sense, for his mind, like the mind of any other SAVVARAH, was a mere joke of the Masters. He is, after all, just a worthless animal created by superior beings. He felt something die inside of him as the paw of the beast reached Kihira. His knees wobbled, and as the teeth of the beast turned her body into a bloody mess. See, that's hard, man. I didn't want to, but I already know the outcome of the other click, so... But Hosfa was no longer nauseated at the sight of the Master's faces. Hosfa was not even angry at his brothers, whose muzzles showed only complete indifference. After all, he had the same muzzle. Ushad kept a secret, and the next day the Masters forgot about the cursed stone. Hosfa lived until his old age at Nair House. Neither he nor his brothers ever mentioned Kihira's name again. Hosfa had other concerns. Asir Nair allowed him to have cubs of his own. When the lizards became old enough, Asir threw him into the arena. Hosfa lived in the arena for more than a year. In his old age, he killed many beasts and SAVVARAHs. He had no desire for survival, only indifference to what was happening. It was this indifference that helped him take the lives of his fellows so easily, seeing despair in their eyes. One day, his opponent was a female. Her skin was bones and fragile, easy prey. But the execution was interrupted when a SAVVARAH jumped into the arena, blocking Hosfa's path. It was only at this moment that Hosfa saw clearly what he had tried to ignore: his own weakness and cowardice. In front of him stood himself, only brave enough to make the sacrifice for someone he cared about. Absolutely. The first epilogue. Okay. In that battle, desperate and broken, Hosfa died. Akatal turned his body into dust, and it mixed with the sand of the arena. Pardon me. Ending unlocked. Ooh, endings unlocked. 1 of 4. Okay. Current, the first epilogue. Click to continue. Alright. Well, this looks like a good place to end it since we're back on home screen. We, I guess there's 1 of 4 endings. We've gotten one of them. Well, technically 2 because he, but I don't know if him dying, because I don't remember getting that notification in the last one, but I might have. It might have been something I just missed. Anyways, yeah, it's such a great story. I really enjoy it. And as always, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for liking, subscribing. Don't forget to click that notification bell. And as always, you guys have yourselves a great day.